Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
I'm sitting here with one of the most fascinating women that I've ever met, and she's been a friend, but she's an accomplished woman. I have to tell you this, and you've probably heard her before, LEA HOPE BECKER. She's an author. She's a lot more than that, though. I mean, we all know, well, maybe they don't know that you, of course, are a tax counselor and what else? There are a lot of things. I had it written down. I can't find it now. Why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Well, first of all, I'm a wife.
Okay, that's the big one, right?
And a mother.
Okay. What do you do on the side?
In my spare time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I try to be a friend to people.
No, come on. You're a professional woman. Tell everybody what you do as a professional. You want me to read it out?
I still prepare tax returns, although that's starting to condense. And I'm writing books. I've written 5 and published 5.
Amazing.
Humorous books, 3 of which are memoir, and 2 of which you could call novels, but they're not serious novels. They're humor. Well, they're serious in their underlying meaning, but they're done in a first person, sort of giggly, conversational way that is supposed to convey some very deep meaning. But and those are I have 2 like that. My Name's Not Robbie Anymore, which
very important book. It was on the cutting edge before everything happened, and you never knew. When you did that, you never knew what was going to happen. It's amazing.
I do that all the time. I don't know what's going to happen. And that book was about a mother and father who had been not estranged from their son, their unmarried son, but they lived far apart enough so that they really didn't get a chance to know what he was up to. And one day he calls up the mother and says, how do you like the name? His name was Robbie. They called him Robbie. And he calls her up and said, how do you like the name Roberta? And that's how the book starts. So it is about someone who has had the sexual reassignment surgery. And I made it humorous. And it's a very hard topic to make humorous.
It was so well done.
But it's in that book.
Yep.
My Name's Not Robbie Anymore. And then I decided to tackle the issue of weight loss as it is made more difficult by close relationships.
Absolutely.
The idea being that especially a woman, from the woman's point of view, a woman doesn't eat more than she should just because she's hungry. She might be emotionally hungry. She might be bored. She might be suffering, and it's a panacea. It's a sort of an unusual kind of addiction, but it's definitely an addiction. So the book is called The Husband Who Kept His Wife Fat, and she is blaming her. She's a yo-yo weight loss, and then she gains it all back. And she is blaming it on her husband. And the book explores the path she travels to so-called cure, if there's such a thing as cure, and deal with the weight issue and deal with her husband at the same time. And that is a laugh out loud. I have been told that that is a laugh out loud book that some people who have bought it and read it have told me they could not put down.
Yeah, no, well, actually, though, I thought a lot of your books they were laugh out loud books. I mean, because you took your children and you made them the kind of the culprit of a lot of the book. But you're very skilled as a writer, and I've always told you that. And now, of course, this book we need to figure out. You said to me, how do I get it on Oprah's? Because Oprah always having a weight problem. And because it is fun, I would think that she would love this. Now, you said something about, well, she has thousands of people who want her to review their books.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah, probably. But so you need to, of course, we all know that there are agents, and you have to get an agent or someone who has a direct line there. That's really, I think, the only way to do it. because if you just sent it, it probably would go into where all the other books go. They give them away. But the only thing you could do is when you send it, it has to have an outrageous thing in the box, like a dog or you send it with something, a pussycat. It has to be sent so that it's astonishing. That's the only way if you don't have an agent, or that's my opinion.
I don't want it so astonishing that they're worried about it and get the security team in.
I know. I was just using that as an example.
I know what you're saying.
But you'd have to get something that would be, I don't know, maybe it's medical marijuana you put in with it. I don't know.
I once met Oprah, actually, and she would not remember me. However, she would remember where we met because it was at the opening of a restaurant in Chicago, and I remember what she was wearing.
Really?
Yeah. And also, I thought I knew who she was. She had just started to make a name for herself on the TV.
Right.
With her first real gig in Chicago. And I didn't have time in those days, like I never did, to watch a lot of TV. So I was very careful when I had a chance to talk to her. And I said to her, "You look familiar to me." She says, "My name is Oprah Winfrey." I said, "My goodness, I'm very happy to meet you." And, and that was that. We had
because you don't watch TV. My name is Oprah. How come you don't know me, right?
And then we went on to celebrate the opening of this restaurant. And, life moved on for both of us. She went in her direction and I went in my direction. So I don't know if that's a good opening line or not.
That's very funny. That's pretty interesting. Well, so the thing you have to do is have someone, maybe an artist, a sculptor, do a picture of her or something that you could put, with it.
I do have a very good friend who is a Chicago artist who does portraits. You've given me an idea. I could have her do a portrait of her, send it to her with the book.
Yep.
It's a budding idea now.
Yeah.
This has to be
definitely.
fleshed out.
It has to be something that the people who open her mail are not going to just toss it. They'll say, "Well, you ought to see this."
Right.
That's what has happened. See, I get a lot of packages all the time. People want me to put things in our magazine. And sometimes, I open it. It's so adorable. It's so great. I show it to everybody. And if I have some space, I might do something with it. But that's it. It has to be cute. It has to be unusual. So I was kidding with the dog or cat, but you see, those people can't resist things like that. So the picture of her, she is, no matter how famous you become, you still like to have pictures, portraits, something. Now, if you could have, it's funny. I'm into holograms so much. And when my husband was alive, we always talked about having the front cover with a hologram that you could, that this thing would move so you would see it as you move it around. Can't do that, but
there's no such thing as can't. No. It's always a question of time and money.
Sure. I think maybe your idea of having a portrait could be really good, and she might, and then putting in your quote the way that you did meet her, because look, a lot of people come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, don't you remember where I've met you there?" And I'll say, "Oh, that's nice. I don't remember," but she might remember, and maybe she won't. But it doesn't matter. You'll do the best you can. I will keep my fingers crossed, and maybe we'll think of something together. Anyway, let's get back to your book, because I'd like people to buy this book. It is worth buying, and I'm sitting across from this woman who has literally lost the weight she promised she was going to lose in this book. That was the whole reason the book was written. Of course, it wasn't really, well, at the time you made a commitment to your husband, you were going to do this.
Correct.
And you kept it.
I kept most of it. I kept 80% of it. I didn't lose the whole total, but I lost 80% of it.
And you've kept it off.
And I kept it off, and I'm still losing, 2 ounces a month.
It's cute. She came in, she said, I told her how good she looked. She said, "Well, I just lost a few more ounces." I said, What kind of a scale do you have that shows ounces?
It doesn't, but I have to. But if I see it move 1 pound a month, then I know that some ounces were coming off all the way.
That's so great. And so just tell people who are listening, they're probably saying, well, what did she do to lose the weight? People always ask you that. What did you do to lose the weight?
I stopped eating most foods with sugar, and the only sugar foods that I will indulge myself in is raisins. Raisins have quite a bit of sugar. They also have iron, and they taste good, and they go good on top of things like oatmeal, which is good. And also I count carbs, but I'm still.
You count carbs. In other words, carbs like bread carbs or other kind of carbs?
Yeah, I'm not going to make the statement that I don't eat any bread, but I hardly ever eat bread at all. So we go to a restaurant, and we do a lot of restaurant eating, and that's a lot of momentum killer for people on diets. I know that. And so I have a sort of a mindset as I go to a restaurant, they're going to put the bread, if they put the bread in the table, that's no. That's called no. Except once in a while, it looks so delicious, I might taste it. So I take, cut a small slice and, that's it. And that's it. And don't give me a bread plate. I also refrained from potatoes, so I had to add vegetables. So a lot of, I'm a meat eater, so I have meat, vegetables, and grains, preferably multigrain, lots of eggs, cheese, sort of like I call it a modified Atkins type, or maybe it's close to the South Beach. But
a lot of salad, of course. That's what
I have salad. I don't have maybe as much salad as people, who really are diehard weight losers. I don't have that much. That's why it comes off so slowly. I'm probably eating a few too many carbs and maybe a little bit too much to lose it more dramatically.
Have you included exercise?
Of course not.
No.
I do, I said it real quick because exercise means a dedicated period of time where one either goes to a gym, has a gym, or runs around the block. Things like that. No, I do not do that. First thing in the morning is I make my bed, and that exercises the back muscles.
I love that.
It's great because every month that mattress gets heavier. I don't know the science behind why a mattress gets heavier every month. And then I clean up after my husband. That's more exercise. He's a regular man. He does his share. But men, as a category, generally have to be cleaned up after. It involves bending, stretching, sponging. And then I walk to wherever I'm going. And because I'm at the age where I start forgetting things, there are more trips for walking back to the thing I forgot to bring into the room. And I call all of this exercise. Now, it's not real exercise. My husband has demonstrated it is not real exercise. Real exercise is where you go to a gym and you pump iron and you sweat and you cringe and you feel tight. So it isn't like that.
Does he do that?
Pardon me?
Does he do that?
He does it every morning.
He goes to the gym every morning?
5 or 6 mornings
now
a
that's
week.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Whoa.
An hour and a half, and he looks at his watch. God forbid, 1 minute less of exercise, he won't stop.
So he must be very trim.
Well, he's trim. I mean, he looks good to me. And, he's got a definition. It's not Schwarzenegger definition, but he's got definition.
That's fabulous.
And he is just motivated to do that. And he is also motivated to give me caustic reminders that I'm not doing anything that I could be doing.
But do you walk around your neighborhood at all? You don't have a dog, so you need a dog.
I don't walk a dog, but sometimes I walk my husband.
That's good. I love it.
When we, we walk, he'll say to me, "Let's go for a walk." And then we see all these poodles and little chihuahuas, and sometimes the bigger dogs. And I see my neighbors, and they say, "Oh, you don't have a dog, do you?" I said, "No, but I walk my husband."
I love it. That's very cute. I haven't heard that. But that's how you are, though. You have this wonderful way of saying things. Now, I don't know if we can even talk a little bit about what you're starting to do with your mind and your words. You've really come up with something, and maybe we ought to share this with some of our listeners. Would you feel you'd like to do that?
Go for it, Anita. Go for it.
Well, I think maybe you ought to read it, what you said. I always ask Leah. First of all, let me tell you, LEA HOPE Becker is our guest, and she's written many, many books, the one of which I have in front of me, The Husband Who Kept His Wife.
Tell her where they buy the books.
Okay, we're going to buy the books at Amazon, are they not?
Amazon or any of the online booksellers. If you're going to a Barnes & Noble, they'll order the book.
Let's give you the names of some of the books, because that's what's important. Some of you who've been listening a long time, you probably would remember, but let's talk. Do I have the list of the names?
I have it in my head.
I know you do. Go ahead.
Okay. My first book was I Promise to Keep Quiet After I'm Dead, Maybe. The second book was I Promise to Stay Married This Time. The third book was Children, I'm Home. The fourth book is My Name's Not Robbie Anymore. And the book we're talking about is The Husband Who Kept His Wife Fat.
Right. I do have this, and I thank you for that, because every book has an underlying theme.
Yes.
But it's done I'll use the word hysterical. I don't mean it, but they're funny. And you'll read it. You won't put it down. Every time she sends me a book, I think I'm going to browse through it, and I can't. I have to read all the words because she does such a great job at writing. But now she needs something new, she said. She wants to do something different. So she's on the tack of a serious novel. We started with that.
Yep.
She's working on that.
It's going to take a while. It's a different form of writing.
Well, but there are books out there to read about how to write a novel, a serious novel, aren't there?
That's why I have trouble walking into my office. There are books.
Too many books.
I got stacks of books everywhere, more books than I could ever read. But I don't have time to go to the library.
No. And nowadays, you can get on your phone.
I do a lot of research on the internet.
But you can also, I find that YouTube is great. You probably can find something on YouTube of an author who's told you about it, or some famous person. It's the TED Talks. All these things are right at our disposal now, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, there really is. The whole world is a reference library.
That's a good way to put it.
It is.
So now let's just talk about, besides writing another novel, you are very quick-witted, as you know, and that's a compliment.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. That's
okay. And you have always a motive, I would say. And so Leah came in and she was telling me that she has problems with her feet, and she wears these adorable sneakers, but she says they're not so adorable when I'm in something fancy, and here I have these sneakers. So why don't you tell everything? I'm going to let you explain what you did and how it came about.
Okay, so I went to the Kravis with my husband, and I had just recently been diagnosed. I have arthritis, and it's really the bottom of my feet, and it causes a numbing, and if I stand for a certain period of time, it starts to be painful, and it can affect the leg muscle. The doctor said it runs up the leg muscle. He showed me some exercises I can do if that happens. And I've got shoes that have orthotics, and the orthotics fit this one style of shoes. I have a couple pairs of them. So I didn't have time to figure out what I'm going to wear with my delightful outfit to the Kravis. And so I was forced to go there in the sneakers. My other option was to find some shoe somewhere and then have somebody push me to the Kravis from the garage, which is not an option that I thought I needed at that time. So I wore the sneakers. Unfortunately, I looked at other women's feet. I couldn't stand it. You know, everybody is wearing beautiful shoes, thongs, stilettos. All right, so the younger woman, they get to wear stilettos. Some of the older women wore, you know, beautiful shoes, thongs, beautifully manicured toes and things. And I was absolutely upset. But the worst of it was when we had to wait in line outside the ladies' room, because when you're intermission-wise, there's always a line of ladies, and I'm looking at all their shoes. So I finally thought to myself...
You have a shoe fetish, I can tell, so go ahead.
Yeah, I must have a shoe thing and a ladies' room thing. So I finally decided, well, one step, everything that's hard to do, you have to do in steps. So the one step I could do is at least get a pair of shoes I could slip on just for the ladies' room. At least then, because that's when you're really looking at shoes. So I wrote that little...
Okay, where is it now?
It's in my pocket.
I think we have time just for you to read that.
All right, I'll read it real fast.
Read that.
This is about an older lady who is very concerned about appearances. Okay. Arthritis in my feet? Oh, no, Doc, that's bad, because I'm particular how my feet are clad. If I can't wear those thongs or that glitzy stiletto when I dress for the opera to enjoy the libretto, what will people think with my dress over sneakers? I feel like a klutz next to those pleasure seekers. Perhaps I can fake it, pretend there's no pain. If my face gets all scrunched up, they'll think I'm insane. In this rare world of fashion, appearances matter. Forget about illnesses. Good health makes good chatter. So when I go shopping for shoes that enthrall, they're just for the ladies' room to show through the stall.
Okay, and so you said, though, this comes easy to you, and you could write, that took 6 minutes, and you could write these on and on. Once you figure out a particular theme.
Pick an issue.
Pick an issue.
It's in my case, it's always about trying to stay younger than you are. And as you get older and older, the effort becomes more complex.
That's well said.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Leah, it's you're a very joyful person, and you've really had a lovely life, and you are living a lovely life, and I would expect you to have another 20 years of a lovely life, because you're so motivated. You always want to keep creating and doing things, and that's why I think we've been such good friends, because you, I do admire you, and you. I know you're going to keep writing, and maybe we're just going to do it differently in some other way, but I like the idea with the Oprah. Try to get that done. And if you really see it in your mind's eye, it could happen. And so you figure it out. And
if you don't go for it, if you don't try it, it ain't going to happen.
It isn't going to happen. Yeah, and I wouldn't send her any of your other books.
No.
I would strictly just keep this one done, just that she knows that you are a professional writer. You've done this and all that. So anyway, it's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you.
Again.
My pleasure.
Yeah.